let's start. Tell us a little bit about you growing up and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. First thing is I'll answer what might be a common question about my name. People see it spelled, oh, it's Kene. Is that like a ghetto version of Kenny? No, not at all. My real first name is actually Kenechukwu, Kenechukwu. It means thank God in Igbo. That's a tribe in Nigeria. And often I go by Kenny for short, just to save time and such. So I would say growing up, I was reserved. I could be talkative depending on the group I was in, but I was always, how I would describe it, cerebral in the way I did things. I like to try to think through problems. Although, sometimes a lot of people who are very intellectual, they kind of get stuck by the book. That wasn't me at all. I was always about, I don't feel like I'm constrained by convention. I care about finding what works for me. I don't see life as just one answer on some science test that can be accepted. It's like, I try to eliminate preconceived notions about what's possible so I can try to find many answers to the problem, any of which could be useful in that particular time. And even how I would describe myself now, I would say has evolved in like the last 6 or 8 months due to various life events. I would say, and this is something women listening might appreciate, I've become much more emotionally available, better at thinking and articulating my feelings and thoughts in a way that allows people to connect with them more. And I would just say I was always open to learning more and doing more. I didn't see or think that I had to be a specific type of person or do a specific type of thing. I always thought that who I was as a person could evolve. I have certain core principles, but I'm not married to any particular thing about who I am. So that's how I would describe how I was growing up. And even now, more so.
Did anything happen that kind of made you that way, or were you just always sort of open and curious and flexible? Or
I would definitely say, sorry to cut you off, Mike.
No,
I would definitely say intellectually curious. That's what allowed me to continue to grow and learn and evolve. I didn't think that because I did well in school, so I want to limit myself to what I do well. It's like, no, I'd actually want to learn more about what the world's about, because you never know who you're going to be down the road. Who you are at 15 is going to be different than who you are at 25, who's going to be different than who you are at 35. So I always wanted to listen and learn things. Like I'm not the kind of person who had an ego so big that like if some 6-year-old told me something I thought was interesting, I'd actually be willing to listen to it. It's like, hey, can I learn from this? Doesn't matter what the source of the information is. It's the information I cared about. So I would say, I don't know that there was anything per se that led me to developing that mindset. It's just that I like to learn. And I think if you like to learn, you tend to skew towards being more willing to listen and evolve, more so than people that think they know everything, which ironically might suggest you might not know everything.
You're in New York. Were you from New York originally?
Yes, I was born in Queens. As a young child, I lived in Rhode Island, but I've lived in New York in different parts of life. I went to school upstate New York, spent most of my life down in Long Island. So.
How much of an influence were your parents, do you think, on your whole approach to life of being curious, intellectually curious, wanting to learn and grow? Did they foster that and help instill that in you?
I think so. I know both my parents always encouraged us all to read and learn. They definitely said, as Nigerian parents, that academics was paramount, getting into college, getting good work, and just doing all the things related to being a good student will tend to encourage you to learn more. There might be some emphasis on, with some families, on just doing well on tests, and that's important, but also learning for learning's sake. Like my mom used to take us to the library a lot, and both parents would help us with homework if we needed it. But they always encouraged us not to pigeonhole ourselves in ways. Like, some families might be like, oh, well, my kids have to go into entertainment, or my kids have to study X, Y, Z. It's like, no, they want you to learn and do well, but they also want you to use your mind in ways that are going to leave you more flexible and more capable down the road. So I would say my parents definitely played a role in my own mindset of how I learned and how I adapted going forward.
So, where did you go to college? Or did
I
you?
went to, yeah, I did. I did go to college. I went to Cornell University, upstate New York. It's a whole different world there. Now, I
Yes.
wouldn't be surprised if it was snowing in Ithaca. I haven't checked the weather.
Yeah. I
But
wouldn't be surprised either.
yeah, I know that I think there was one semester in May that I was there where we actually had snow. It was shocking. Well, not that shocking given the topography of the area, but just the fact that you can have snow in May somewhere. A lot of
Yeah.
people are like, well, no, that can't happen. Well, no, in Ithaca can happen.